He stopped her 3 blocks from the bus stop at 3:30 in the afternoon in Westwood. The patrol car rolled up beside her at walking speed and halted. The door opened. No greeting. A voice behind her shoulder told her to stop. She did. The sidewalk narrowed there. Hedges trimmed to waist height. Driveways sloping down toward closed garage doors. She kept both hands visible, one resting on the strap of her bag. "What are you doing here?" She answered without turning her body. Walking to the bus. Her feet stayed planted. Her shoulders did not shift. He asked where she was coming from. She named the hospital. County General. Said she had just finished her shift. She adjusted the strap so it wouldn't slide. The edge of a folded scrub top remained visible near the zipper. Blue fabric against black nylon. Officer Daniel Harris stepped closer. Not into her space yet. Close enough that she angled her head to hear him over traffic at the cross street. He asked for identification. She asked if there was a problem. Her hands stayed where they were. 2 cars passed the intersection. Then none. "You don't look like you belong around here." She glanced down at her shoes. Work sneakers, white soles scuffed at the toes. Then looked back up. "I walk this route every day." He did not respond. His gaze moved to the bag at her hip. He asked what was inside. "My work bag." He waited. She shifted her weight from her left foot to her right. The strap pressed harder into her shoulder. He told her to open it. She asked why. He said there had been break-ins. He did not give a date or an address. He stayed where he was. She asked if she was being detained. He said he was asking her to cooperate. She did not move. The bus stop sign was visible at the end of the block, blue and white against the trees. The posted schedule was bolted to the pole beneath it. The next arrival time was printed in black. Sen. 8:07 p.m. I haven't done anything wrong. He looked down again. Slower this time. Taking in her shoes. Her pants. The way the bag hung against her side. His yaw set. "You people get off work at weird hours." She did not respond. He repeated the order to open the bag. She said she did not consent to a search without a reason. She spoke clearly. Her fingers did not leave the strap. Officer Harris exhaled and glanced toward the houses across the street. Windows faced the sidewalk. Curtains were open. This doesn't need to be a whole thing. She asked for his name and badge number. He said he was not detaining her. She said he was telling her she could not leave. He gave his name and badge number without looking at her. Then repeated the order. She brought the bag slightly forward. Her hand moved to the zipper and stopped there. The metal tab rested between her fingers. Officer Harris reached out and lifted the strap with 2 fingers. The bag dipped. The strap slid across her shoulder and settled back. "What is this?" "Anyway," she said it was her work bag. Again, he let go of the strap. "Turn around," she asked on what basis. His hand moved and caught her arm just above the elbow. It did not linger. Her arm moved with it. About an inch. She did not pull away. She did not step back. She raised her voice just enough to carry past him. "For the record, you just grabbed my arm. I am not resisting." He released her immediately. His hand dropped. He looked past her shoulder. A door across the street opened. A woman stepped onto the porch and stopped. "Go back inside," he said. Not to Lauren. The woman did not move. She stood barefoot on the concrete, one hand on the doorframe. He told her it was police business. She stayed where she was. Another door opened farther down the block. A man stepped onto his walkway and looked between them. He folded his arms. Lauren turned her head slightly so her voice carried down the sidewalk. "My name is Lauren Brooks. I'm walking home from work. I've been stopped and asked to open my bag without a reason." The woman raised her phone. The man took a step closer to his fence. Officer Harris shifted his stance. His feet moved wider, then back again. He took half a step away from Lauren. "I told you, you're free to go." She did not move. "I'm leaving unless you're detaining me." He looked at the phones, then back at her. "You can go She adjusted the bag back onto her shoulder. The strap slid into place. She walked toward the bus stop without turning around. Her pace did not change. Behind her, the patrol car door closed. The engine started. At the corner. She waited for the signal. The walking figure lit. It counted down. The hand appeared. Then the walking figure lit again for the next cycle. She crossed on the second change. The bus shelter came into view. Glass panels. A metal bench. The route map bolted to the back wall. She stepped into the marked area beneath the sign and stood beside the posted schedule. She took her phone from her pocket and locked the screen without checking it. The bus arrived. She boarded and took a seat near the back. The doors closed. Document everything. The bus cleared the intersection and disappeared from the block. The patrol car did not move. Its front end stayed angled toward the cross street, narrowing the lane where the sidewalk fed into the corner. Lauren Brooks stopped short of the signal. She had not stepped into open ground yet. She remained within the same block. Officer Daniel Harris stood beside the cruiser, one hand resting on the open door. When he saw her stop, he straightened. The distance between them was close to the width of a driveway. He told her to come back. She did not. He took 2 steps forward and stopped where the concrete dipped toward the street. He said he just needed to ask a few more questions. He did not say what. She asked if she was being detained. He said no, then told her to stay where she was. He added that this was just a field interview. Lauren did not change position. The bag hung against her hip, pulling at the same point on her shoulder. She shifted her weight from her right foot to her left and left it there. Her phone stayed in her pocket. Screen locked. Recorder running. She had started it earlier and had not touched it since. He said he was responding to suspicious activity in the area. She asked him to describe it. He said she matched the description of someone seen earlier. He did not give a time. He did not give a direction. She asked what the description was. He said it was a woman. She waited. He added dark clothing. Lauren kept her eyes forward. He stepped closer. The space between them narrowed again. His yaw set. He shortened his sentences. This doesn't have to get complicated. She asked again if she was free to leave. He said he was trying to resolve the situation. He told her to turn around. She did not. He said she was being uncooperative. She asked what she was being asked to comply with. He did not answer that. He told her to put the bag on the ground. She said no. His hand moved toward his belt and stopped. He looked past her toward the houses lining the block. A door opened behind her. Footsteps crossed concrete and stopped. Officer Harris turned his head. "Ma'am, this is police business," he said. The person behind Lauren did not move away. The sound of a phone camera activating carried down the sidewalk. Lauren kept her gaze ahead. "My name is Lauren Brooks," she said. "I've already been told I'm free to go." Officer Harris's head turned once toward the porch, once toward the fence, then back to her bag. He told her to lower her voice. She did not change it. He said she was escalating the situation. Lauren kept her mouth closed. Her fingers stayed on the strap. A man's voice came from near the fence line. "I see her walking here every day." Lauren recognized him from earlier. He stood by his gate, hands resting on the top rail. He did not step closer. Officer Harris told him to return to his property. The man did not move. Lauren stayed quiet. The pedestrian signal at the corner cycled. The walking figure appeared, counted down, and disappeared. Traffic passed through the intersection and cleared again. Officer Harris said he was calling for backup. Lauren did not respond. He looked at her face, then at the phones, then back at the bag. "Last chance," he said. "Turn around." She remained where she was. She stated that everything being said was being recorded. He asked who was recording. She did not answer. The radio on his shoulder crackled. He did not respond to it. The woman on the porch spoke. She said she had lived on the block for years and had never seen Lauren cause a problem. Officer Harris told her to stop interfering. She did not. Another car turned onto the block. Slowed. then continued through. The pedestrian signal cycled again. Officer Harris took a step back. Then another. "You're free to leave," he said. "I'll be noting your behavior." Lauren asked him to repeat that. He did. She nodded once. She turned and walked toward the bus stop without changing her pace. She did not look back. Behind her, the woman's phone stayed raised. The man by the fence remained where he was, at the shelter. Lauren stood beneath the sign. "The posted schedule has been updated." The next arrival was listed beneath the last. 3:52 in the afternoon. She waited. The bus arrived. She boarded and took the same seat near the back. The doors closed. In her pocket, the recording continued. Lauren Brooks stayed on the bus until the route crossed out of Westwood and into the next district. When the vehicle slowed again, she stood, exited, and walked the remaining blocks home. She did not remove her phone from her pocket. That night, she transferred the recording. She connected the phone to her laptop. She copied the file exactly as captured. She named it with the date, the street, and the time window. She saved one copy to the local drive and one to cloud storage. She did not trim it. She did not annotate it. The next morning, she filed a formal complaint. She entered the officer's name and badge number as spoken. She listed the location. She listed the duration. She attached the audio file. She described the sequence. Ordered to stop. Told she was free to go. Then ordered to stay. She submitted the form. An automated reply arrived the same day. "Your complaint has been logged." 2 days later, Professional Standards contacted her by email. They asked her to confirm the file format. They asked whether she had edited the recording. She replied that she had not. A follow-up message arrived that afternoon. "We have body camera footage from the officer." The footage showed the stop from start to finish. The approach, the commands, the pause at the bag, the hand on her arm, the witnesses stepping into frame. The moment the officer stepped back, the timestamps aligned with her recording. There was no gap. Professional Standards requested additional materials: patrol assignments, zone logs, stop reports. Over multiple years, Officer Daniel Harris had logged repeated contacts in Westwood outside his assigned area. The stops followed the same pattern: questioning without citation, release without charge. Lauren was notified when the internal review moved forward. She was notified again when Officer Harris was placed on administrative leave. She was contacted by the city's legal office. They requested copies of her recordings. She provided the same files. Unchanged. The city issued a settlement offer. The amount and conditions were listed. She declined. The case was filed. Hearings were scheduled. Evidence was entered. At trial, the jury watched the body camera footage without commentary. They heard the audio in sequence. They saw the officer's position relative to Lauren. They saw the witnesses enter the frame. They compared timestamps. Residents from Westwood testified. Each described being stopped, questioned, and released without citation. The questions matched. The locations matched. The pattern held. The verdict was returned in Lauren's favor. The award totaled $890,000. The department issued a notice to its staff. Officer Daniel Harris is terminated effective immediately. Lauren returned to her routine. She continued working the same shifts. She continued taking the bus. She continued walking the routes that made sense. Patrol cars still passed through Westwood. Officers documented stops outside their assigned zones. Supervisors reviewed those logs. Lauren did not speak publicly about the case. The recording remained stored in 2 locations: the cloud account under her name and the encrypted drive in her apartment. The body camera footage remained archived on the department server under the case number. The files were not altered. The record stayed where it was placed. This is Power Abuse Stories. When discretion replaces explanation, record what happens. Follow for the next case.